I probably gotta put that motherfucker in neutral. Well, I'll load, you know what I'm saying, both of them. Probably gotta put them in neutral, though. You know how to put it in neutral?
Not from underneath.
I'll show you. You gotta learn that anyway, huh?
Gabrielle "Gabby" Ayers was a 24-year-old mother. She was not out on the streets looking for trouble. She was not armed. She was not a threat to anyone. She was simply a young mother raising her 14-month-old child. Her life was taken in broad daylight. It felt like something out of a horror movie. Her child nearly lost their life as well.
Oh my God.
Venía saliendo como...
They shot it up. Who's there?
Hey, love on the driver. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah. We did in the motherfucker.
That afternoon, I never imagined a shooting would happen near me. I had stopped to grab McDonald's, telling myself I needed to start eating better. It felt like an ordinary day. I've always said that I spend a lot of time on Chicago's east and south sides because I have family there. That is normal for me. I was on South May Street in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood on a Wednesday afternoon when everything suddenly changed. Gunshots erupted. They were loud, they were rapid, they were close. They were not coming from blocks away. They were happening right in front of me. At least 3 shooters ran up and opened fire. It was not random. It was organized chaos. Bullets flew in every direction. Some of those bullets struck my vehicle. 3 separate rounds pierced the metal. That is how close I was to the gunfire. Yes, I am the person who recorded the video that later circulated online. Some people may not believe me. Some may call it fake. But I know what happened because I was there. I risked my life to capture those moments on camera. At one point, it felt like the gunfire might shift toward my direction again. If you remember seeing the red car driving toward me in the footage, that was real. Everything you saw happened in real time.
A young mother is dead after being shot while she was in a car on the city's south side. Police say her baby survived that shooting unharmed. Hello again, everyone, on this Thursday morning. I'm Patrick Elwood.
And I'm Dina Baer. Thank you for joining us. WGN's Angelica Sanchez is live in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood with the latest on the investigation. Angelica?
Pat and Dina, nothing short of a miracle is how the baby's condition is being described, as those that were on the scene tell us that there were actual bullet casings found in the baby's car seat. Crime Stoppers is now offering a reward for any information that could lead to an arrest. Skycap 9 flies over the 7900 block of South May Street, where a white vehicle riddled with bullet holes has collided with the nearby GMC van. Officers located 2 victims inside the car, a 26-year-old woman and a 27-year-old man. The female victim was struck multiple times and passed away from her injuries, while the male victim is expected to survive.
It's like something out of a war zone.
The female victim is identified as 26-year-old Gabrielle Ayers. Cook County Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward for information that leads to the person or persons responsible for her murder. Multiple people pulled over or ran over to try and help them. To everyone's shock, the victim's daughter, a baby girl, was located unharmed in her car seat.
It's a miracle with all the gunshot wounds on that car on both sides. And all the shooting that took place, that baby was spared and nothing. God must have a plan for that baby.
The shooting unfolded not far from St. Sabina Church and their nearby food pantry. Leo High School is also in close proximity. Father Michael Flager says he was there too and has also seen videos circulating on social media showing more than one shooter targeting the car. He says the shooters have no soul.
These guys just coming out with all with long guns, just shooting. I mean, there were bullets, casings all over the street. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it was obviously, I don't know what the origin of this was, but they were obviously after this car and the people in it. But, you know, whether they knew or not knew a baby was in the back seat, they didn't care. They were just going to shoot wildly at this car and end up killing up the young mother.
No arrests have been made, and again, Crime Stoppers is now offering a $10,000 reward. You can reach out to CPD or to Crime Stoppers where you can remain anonymous. Live in Auburn Gresham, Angelica Sanchez, WGN News.
The tragedy in Auburn Gresham was more than another act of gun violence. It became a painful reminder of how dramatically the streets have changed. A young mother lost her life. A baby narrowly escaped death. A community was left grieving. The incident shocked residents because it crossed lines that many believed should never be crossed. The attack was horrifying in both its scale and brutality. During the afternoon of February 4, 2026, a 26-year-old woman and a 27-year-old man were sitting inside a white sedan near 79th Street and South May Street in Chicago's Auburn Gresham neighborhood. Several armed attackers suddenly approached the vehicle. They unleashed an overwhelming barrage of gunfire before fleeing the scene. Witnesses and videos circulating online captured the terrifying moments. The car was riddled with bullet holes. Shell casings covered the roadway near St. Sabina Church. The damaged vehicle eventually crashed into a nearby van. Inside were the wounded victims. In the back seat sat a 13 to 14-month-old baby girl, still secured in her car seat as chaos unfolded around her. Police officers and nearby residents rushed to help. They removed the crying child from the wreckage. One witness recalled seeing the toddler still holding a lollipop. She appeared frightened and confused. She could not understand why her mother was no longer responding. The young woman later died from multiple gunshot wounds. The man survived injuries to his arm and buttocks and is expected to recover. Remarkably, the baby was not physically injured. However, many acknowledged that the emotional impact of witnessing such violence can never truly be measured. The street code has changed. Boundaries that once existed have steadily disappeared. Older generations often spoke about unwritten rules. Those rules were far from perfect, yet they discouraged attacks on women and children. Today, many believe those limits no longer exist. That reality is reflected in this case. sh0t mob, a street faction known on Chicago's East Side for violent activity, has been mentioned in connection with the killing of Gabriel "Gabby" Ayers. The allegations remain under investigation, and law enforcement has not publicly identified suspects. Reports circulating online claim that nearly 100 rounds were fired at the vehicle.
Chicago police joined the community in a show of solidarity on the very corner where a young woman was gunned down.
I just can relate to what this family is going through, and it's very painful, and it just reminds me of that we need to get these guns off the street.
Neighborhood resident Demetric Brown knows all too well the pain of losing a child to gun violence. She lost her adult daughter in 2021. The Southsiders among a coalition of concerned who attended an outdoor roll call by officers from CPD's 6th District following the slaying of Gabrielle Ayers, the 26-year-old mother who was killed in a car while her 14-month-old daughter was in the back seat.
We stand together, we continue to partner with one another, that you guys are willing to come forward and help us, give us information.
Investigators say the attack happened Wednesday afternoon as Ayers and a man sat in a car near 79th and May. 3 men opened fire on their vehicle, causing them to crash into a van.
I talked to her mother, and I've also committed to paying for the services for her as well. And we will be starting to arrange those over the next day.
The 27-year-old man driving the vehicle Ayers was in was wounded but survived the attack, and incredibly, so did Ayers' child.
If he didn't show that he's still God by protecting that baby,
Amen.
Yeah. I don't know what else he could show you.
During a prayer vigil attended by Chicago's mayor, other local elected officials, anti-violence advocates, and others, there were pleas for the killing to stop.
You gonna see our guys out here in these yellow or orange jackets constantly engaging the community, putting out fires everywhere.
The brazen daylight shooting in the city's Auburn Gresham neighborhood happened near St. Sabina Church. Today, the pastor, Father Michael Flager, offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest.
Don't be silent. Don't sit back, because if you do, then you are a co-conspirator to everything that they do.
So far, no one is in custody and no arrests have been made.
Chicago police have had very little to say about their ongoing investigation, except to say it is still under investigation. Back to you.
Father Michael Flager of St. Sabina Church described the attack as another heartbreaking example of the disregard for human life. He expressed gratitude that the child may be too young to remember the event directly. At the same time, he acknowledged the painful reality that she will grow up knowing her mother was murdered before her eyes. Residents, faith leaders, activists and city officials, including Mayor Brandon Johnson, later gathered near 79th Street and May Street to demand justice and call for an end to the cycle of violence. Gabrielle "Gabby" Ayers eventually became identified as the victim at the center of the tragedy. Observers pointed to weeks of online hostility, insults, and threats involving people associated with risky roads and members of No Limit. Those tensions appeared to escalate before the fatal shooting. Various rumors and online claims have suggested possible ties to individuals connected with Big Op and sh0t mob. However, investigators have not publicly named any suspects. The investigation remains ongoing. Until official findings are released, responsibility has not been legally established, leaving the community searching for answers while mourning another devastating loss.
From all indications, there were multiple shooters who fired dozens of shots, perhaps more than 50. Remarkably, all of those bullets missed a baby who was sitting in the car that was targeted.
Investigators remained at the scene well after nightfall at this corner littered with shell casings, where somehow a baby in this bullet-riddled car emerged unscathed.
What's the purpose of shooting at a car when you know there's a child in the car? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it could be a lot of other people who's lost their life here today.
Kirk Bell is the godfather of 26-year-old Gabrielle Ayers, who relatives identify as the woman who was shot and killed in her white Chevy sedan around 1:30 p.m. at 79th and May Street, her car then crashing into a van.
This here is unbelievable. This young lady was a beautiful young lady with a beautiful child, and life just cut short. For what?
Ayers' boyfriend in the car also shot multiple times, but her 13-month-old baby daughter, who was sitting in the back, escaped unhurt.
It's a miracle that that baby was not shot. It's a miracle.
St. Sabina Church is around the block from where the gunfire erupted, and the church's food pantry is on that corner. People inside hiding in a back room, and after the gunfire, emerged to help the victims.
So they saw, the young man and the woman shot up in the car as they were trying to get the baby out. But they gave the baby immediately to the police, and the policewoman took it in her car and was holding it.
They need to clean this city up. They need to. This gangs and the shooting and the killing is just unbelievable.
Gabrielle Ayer's mother tells me her daughter worked as a hairstylist and was training to be a letter carrier. Police have not offered a motive for the shooting.
One of the most recognized figures connected to these ongoing disputes is Big Op. He has earned a reputation on the streets for alleged involvement in multiple killings and for his willingness to confront rivals without hesitation. Earlier in his street career, he reportedly operated under the name Drench Gang Pharaoh. As police pressure intensified and rival groups focused more attention on him, he adopted the name Big Op, reportedly to distance himself from past investigations and legal scrutiny. His connection to rapper G Herbo through family ties has also made him a well-known figure beyond neighborhood conflicts, increasing his visibility in both music and street culture. Big Op has been involved in a long-running feud with the Risky Roads faction. The recent Auburn Gresham shooting has only intensified those hostilities. The woman killed in the attack was later identified as the sister of a Risky Roads affiliate known as Risky Band. Reports suggest she was not the intended victim. Nevertheless, her death has become closely tied to the ongoing cycle of threats, retaliation, and violence between the rival groups. Big Op and Risky Band had reportedly exchanged hostile messages online. Their confrontations included social media posts and FaceTime live streams. During those exchanges, both sides allegedly bragged about previous attacks, questioned each other's actions, and competed for dominance in a culture where reputation often determines survival. Another group drawing significant attention is sh0t Mob. This younger faction is associated with Drench Gang and the No Limit Mafia Bloods, commonly known as NLMB. Members are considered part of the broader Drench Gang and NLMB network. They have reportedly played an active role in the ongoing conflict with Risky Roads and its allies. Observers describe this younger generation as especially aggressive. They have inherited older rivalries while also building new partnerships with groups such as Bloodhound Q50 and Burly Boys. Together, these alliances are viewed by many as among the most dangerous on Chicago's streets today. They have been linked to rapid retaliation following the deaths of members including Lil Scoom and Lil Jeff. Reports suggest they continue searching for rival targets. The atmosphere of revenge has intensified to the point where some observers describe participants as showing little concern for restraint or mercy. The pattern of retaliation has continued without pause. What began as personal disputes and gang rivalries involving Big Op, Risky Band, sh0t Mob, and their associates has evolved into a much broader street conflict. The violence now extends to groups connected with Bloodhound, NLMB, Fatso, Risky Road, and factions operating around 95th Street. Shootings have become increasingly frequent. Casualties continue to mount on multiple sides. Entire neighborhoods have been left grieving the loss of loved ones. Some believe one faction has been more aggressive in launching attacks, while the opposing side often responds in retaliation. Regardless of who initiated the violence, neither side appears willing to end the conflict. As the feud expands, the danger extends far beyond those directly involved. Innocent residents increasingly find themselves caught in the middle. One of the clearest examples of this escalating violence occurred during the afternoon of February 4th, 2026, in Auburn Gresham. At approximately 1:25 p.m., A 26-year-old woman and her 27-year-old boyfriend were sitting inside a white sedan near the intersection of 79th Street and South May Street, only a short distance from St. Sabina Church. Without warning, several gunmen approached and opened fire. Witnesses described the gunfire as a continuous barrage that sounded like repeated explosions.
Breaking right now at 4:30, a brazen shooting a block from St. Sabina in the middle of 79th Street, leaving one person dead and a second in the hospital. Our Sabrina Franza is there for us. And Sabrina, there was a child in the car that was shot into, correct?
Marie, the baby was in the back seat of this white car that you can see just here on 79th Street. It is right behind this larger vehicle that it later crashed into after the shooting. Two adults were in the car with that child when at least 3 people walked up and started firing. Incredibly, the baby was not physically hurt, but the entire incident was caught on video, and a CBS viewer sent that video to us. Here you can see at least 3 people run up to the white car with guns in hand. Now, we are not airing the audio in this video, though in it you could hear at least 24 shots fired directly at that white car. After running away, the gunman got into a red Alfa Romeo and fired even more shots into this white car. The viewer who took this video, or sent us the video rather, told us that they are heartbroken and distraught tonight, saying that they were on their way from work when they saw the shooting. A man and a woman, both injured, with a baby they say was holding a lollipop in the back seat, crying. That viewer told us that the child was not injured, thankfully. Both adults taken to the hospital, and the male is expected to be okay. More video from the scene also shows the immediate police response. Officers have marked the many bullet casings on the ground as they try to find the person responsible, people responsible. Now, the other car that you can see here, as we mentioned, the driver of this car was not involved in the shooting, we're told, but also got out of the car and refused medical attention. Just an innocent person, it seems, caught in the middle of all of this. At last check, police have said that the female victim in this case is 26 years old, the male victim 27, and as we mentioned, the male victim is expected to be okay, and the child in this case was also, we're told, not injured. We're live in Auburn, Gresham. Sabrina Franza, CBS News, Chicago. Marie.
Thanks for the update on that wild scene, Sabrina.
Authorities suspect the shooting was part of the continuing retaliation against Risky Road and affiliated factions. Previous incidents, including the deaths of Lil Scoom and Lil Jeff, followed by retaliatory attacks involving Bloodhound and sh0t mob, point to a prolonged cycle of violence. Many observers describe the pattern as deliberate and relentless. Community members have compared the level of planning, firepower and coordination to scenes from a war zone. To many residents, the conflict represents more than gang rivalry. It reflects a wider social crisis where personal disputes repeatedly escalate into deadly violence that claims innocent lives. In the aftermath of the shooting, law enforcement continued its investigation while acknowledging the challenges involved. Detectives noted that many witnesses remain unwilling to cooperate because they fear retaliation. Community organizations attempted to encourage public assistance by offering financial rewards. St. Sabina Church and Cook County Crime Stoppers both announced reward programs for information leading to arrests. Despite these efforts, the cycle of revenge continues. Families remain trapped in an atmosphere of grief, fear, and uncertainty. The Auburn Gresham shooting, together with the ongoing disputes involving Big Op, Risky Road, sh0t mob, and their allies, illustrates a troubling shift in Chicago's street culture. Long-standing informal boundaries that once discouraged violence against women, children, and elderly residents have increasingly disappeared. In their place, retaliation, intimidation, and the pursuit of reputation have become dominant forces. As a result, entire communities continue to suffer. Innocent people, including a young mother and her child, are left caught in the middle of conflicts they never chose to join. The victim was later identified as the sister of local rapper Risky Bands. Within certain neighborhoods, that family connection carries considerable significance. Risky Bands is associated with Risky Road, a faction involved in long-running disputes with rival groups throughout the city. Over time, these rivalries have extended beyond the streets and onto social media platforms. Online posts, live streams, and public insults frequently intensify existing tensions. In many cases, these online exchanges serve as public demonstrations of influence and reputation. They can rapidly transform private disagreements into violent confrontations. Because of her relationship to Risky Bands, many observers immediately questioned whether that connection influenced the motive behind the attack. In communities where loyalty and affiliation play a major role, relatives of prominent figures can sometimes become unintended victims. Her identity as the sister of a well-known rapper placed additional attention on the case. Although investigators have not officially confirmed that her death was directly connected to these rivalries, many residents believe the ongoing conflict surrounding her brother may have contributed to the attack. The tragedy becomes even more complex because reports indicate that the victim's boyfriend also had connections within local street networks. He was reportedly affiliated with BOG, a group believed to share relationships with Risky Road and other neighborhood factions. In environments where alliances and rivalries heavily influence personal safety, these overlapping associations can significantly increase danger. Some observers believe the boyfriend may have been the intended target. Others believe both occupants of the vehicle were deliberately placed in harm's way because of their respective affiliations. The nature of the attack has generated further discussion. Witnesses reported that the driver's side of the vehicle sustained the majority of the gunfire. This has led some to believe the shooters knew who was sitting inside. Whether they intended to target one individual or both remains unclear. However, the sustained and aggressive nature of the assault suggests careful planning rather than a spontaneous confrontation. The gunfire continued even after the vehicle crashed into a nearby SUV. For many residents, the persistence of the attack strongly suggests the assailants intended to ensure a fatal outcome. Beyond the questions surrounding motive, affiliations, and rivalries, the human loss remains the most significant reality. A young mother's life ended far too soon. A family lost a beloved daughter and sister. A child now faces life without the care, guidance, and love of their mother. Another neighborhood already struggling with recurring violence has been left carrying even more pain and heartbreak. The location of the shooting makes the tragedy even more striking. It happened only steps away from St. Sabina Church. The church has long been recognized for its efforts to reduce violence and support local families and young people. For decades, it has served as a place of hope and community leadership. The fact that such a brutal attack occurred so close to an institution dedicated to peace demonstrates how deeply rooted the challenges facing Auburn Gresham have become. It also serves as a sobering reminder that ending these cycles of violence remains an ongoing struggle. The investigation remains active as detectives work to uncover exactly what happened. Officers are reviewing surveillance footage. They are collecting physical evidence. They are interviewing witnesses. So far, no arrests have been announced. investigators are reconstructing the sequence of events. They are determining how the gunman approached the vehicle. They are examining whether the victims were followed before the shooting. They are also establishing how long the attack lasted and what led to the violence that erupted around 1:25 p.m. Although rumors continue to spread online and throughout the neighborhood, police have urged the public not to jump to conclusions. Detectives say identifying the motive and those responsible requires careful examination of evidence, phone records, witness testimony, and relationships between those involved. Until that process is complete, much of the public discussion remains speculation surrounding a very real tragedy. Residents of Auburn Gresham have endured years of adversity. Like many neighborhoods on Chicago's South Side, the community has struggled with economic hardship, systemic inequality, and persistent gang violence. Despite these challenges, Auburn Gresham remains home to hard-working families, children, and neighbors who continue to support one another. Incidents like this shatter that sense of security. They reopen painful memories. They remind residents that peace in their neighborhood can disappear in an instant. The magnitude of the attack cannot be ignored. Dozens of bullets were fired. The vehicle was left riddled with gunfire. It crashed in broad daylight. A young mother lost her life. A man survived with injuries. A small child escaped physical harm by what many describe as nothing short of a miracle. The child was sitting only inches away from the deadly gunfire. The tragedy has deeply affected not only the victim's family, but also friends, neighbors, and members of the wider community. Many have expressed grief, disbelief, and outrage on social media. They questioned how anyone could unleash such overwhelming violence at a vehicle carrying a child. Even in neighborhoods where retaliation has become common, many believe this attack crossed a line that should never have been crossed. The emotional consequences of this tragedy will last long after the police leave the scene. Trauma does not disappear when the sirens stop. It remains with families. It remains with witnesses. It remains with children trying to understand what happened. People who saw the attack may continue to remember the sound of gunfire, the smell of smoke, and the panic that followed. Most heartbreaking of all is the young child who survived but lost her mother. Although she is too young to fully understand today, that loss will shape her future. Child psychologists explain that even when children survive physically, exposure to severe violence can affect emotional development, mental health, and behavior for many years. Early counseling, strong family support, and a stable environment will play an important role in helping her recover. The young woman's reported connection to risky bands has drawn significant attention. More than a family relationship, it highlights how neighborhood rivalries often extend beyond the individuals directly involved. In communities where loyalty and affiliation influence everyday life, relatives of well-known figures can unintentionally become targets themselves. While she lived her own life, activity on social media, including messages, online disputes, and comments connected to ongoing conflicts, may have increased both her visibility and her vulnerability. Her boyfriend's reported ties to BOG added another layer of danger. Together, their alleged affiliations may have placed both of them at greater risk. Early speculation suggested the attackers were focused solely on him. However, witness accounts and evidence now indicate that she may also have been intentionally targeted or knowingly placed in harm's way. The intensity of the assault, the coordination between the shooters, and the sustained gunfire suggest a carefully planned attack in which both occupants became intended victims. Community leaders have reacted with grief, frustration, and renewed calls for justice. Father Michael Flieger, pastor of St. Sabina Church, spoke with urgency following the shooting. For decades, he has worked to reduce violence in Auburn Gresham. He has supported grieving families and developed programs aimed at steering young people away from gangs and crime. Reflecting on the child who survived, he said, "Thank God the baby is so young. They probably won't remember this day, but they will always know their mother was taken from them. He also stressed the seriousness of the attack, noting that the gunmen were reportedly carrying long guns. He called the violence unacceptable. He urged anyone with information to come forward. He expressed hope that surveillance cameras would help identify those responsible. He insisted that justice must finally be served. Kirk Bell, identified as Gabrielle Ayres' godfather, shared similar emotions. He questioned how anyone could intentionally fire into a vehicle knowing a child was inside. He described the attackers as having no respect for human life. Bell said the city continues to struggle with gang violence, shootings, and daily killings. He acknowledged that although the child survived physically, the emotional wounds may remain for years. Auburn Gresham is a community known for its resilience, history, and culture. Yet it continues to face ongoing challenges. Streets once associated with neighborhood gatherings are too often interrupted by emergency sirens and gunfire. Community leaders say this tragedy reflects a larger pattern affecting Chicago. Despite efforts by police, outreach organizations, and social service agencies, shootings and homicides remain persistent problems. Long-standing economic inequality, limited opportunities, and entrenched gang conflicts continue to fuel violence. Even so, the killing of a young mother in front of her child has deeply shaken residents. Following the shooting, activists, faith leaders, and community members have encouraged anyone with information to cooperate with investigators. They argue that remaining silent only allows violence to continue. Sharing information with law enforcement may help prevent future tragedies. Religious leaders have offered prayers for the victims, their loved ones, and even those responsible. They continue to call for accountability, meaningful change, and, where possible, redemption. At the heart of this tragedy is a young child whose life has been permanently changed. She survived the attack without physical injuries. However, she now faces life without her mother. Specialists emphasize that early intervention, consistent emotional support, and professional counseling will be critical as she grows older. Her survival is both a blessing and a painful reminder of how unpredictable and devastating gun violence can be. Ultimately, the shooting near 79th Street and May Street represents far more than a single act of violence. It reflects the complicated reality of neighborhood rivalries, gang affiliations, and cycles of retaliation that have affected parts of Chicago for generations. It is a story of lives shaped by loyalty, conflict, and revenge. It is also the story of an ordinary afternoon that turned into irreversible tragedy. A young mother lost her life. A family was left grieving. A child lost the person who should have been there to raise her. And an entire community was once again forced to confront the lasting impact of violence in its streets. Video footage that has circulated online offers a disturbing glimpse into the attack. Observers say the gunfire appeared to be concentrated primarily on the driver's side of the vehicle, where 26-year-old Gabrielle Ayres was sitting. This has led many to believe the attackers were focused on specific occupants rather than firing randomly. Witnesses reported that the gunman approached from a nearby side street in a coordinated manner. One reportedly moved toward the driver's side, carrying what witnesses described as a Draco-style firearm. Another positioned himself behind the vehicle and fired through the rear window. A third allegedly remained across the street while firing from a distance. The positioning of the shooters and the sustained barrage suggest careful planning rather than a spontaneous act of violence. The vehicle quickly became a deadly trap. After the first rounds were fired, the car crashed nearby. Even then, the gunfire reportedly continued. Witnesses said the attackers did not stop after the collision. Instead, they continued firing, appearing determined to complete the assault. The coordinated positions of the shooters suggest they knew where the occupants were seated before opening fire. Some observers believe the vehicle may have been monitored before the attack, with the gunman waiting for the right opportunity to strike. In neighborhoods where violence is sometimes used to send public messages, many believe the shooting may have been intended as retaliation, a display of power, or a warning directed toward rival groups. Those possibilities remain under investigation, and authorities have not announced an official motive. The shooting exposed how quickly violence can spread beyond the people directly involved. It was not only the intended victim who faced danger. Family members, partners, and close associates were also placed at risk simply because of their relationships. In communities shaped by long-standing rivalries and interconnected social circles, personal associations can increase someone's vulnerability, even when they have no direct role in ongoing disputes. Witnesses reported that the majority of the gunfire struck the driver's side of the vehicle. This has led to speculation that the attackers may have known Gabrielle Ayres was sitting there. However, her boyfriend, who was seated beside her, may also have been a significant target because of his reported ties to BOG, a group connected through overlapping alliances with Risky Road and other neighborhood factions. Rather than focusing on a single individual, the attack appeared to place everyone inside the vehicle in extreme danger. It served as both a physical assault and a symbolic display of intimidation. The most heartbreaking part of the incident was the presence of Ayres' 14-month-old daughter. The toddler was secured in a car seat in the back of the vehicle as bullets ripped through it. Despite the intensity of the shooting, the child was not physically injured. Witnesses recalled seeing her sitting silently with a lollipop still in her hand while the chaos unfolded around her. Her survival brought a small sense of relief during an otherwise devastating event. Although she escaped without physical wounds, specialists have long warned that exposure to severe violence during early childhood can leave lasting emotional effects. Experiences like these may influence a child's emotional well-being, sense of security, and social development for many years. Losing a mother under such traumatic circumstances creates an absence that cannot truly be filled. The emotional impact is likely to remain with the child throughout her life. The incident also highlights how reputation, public visibility, and neighborhood affiliations often intersect. Gabrielle Ayres maintained an active social media presence, where she reportedly participated in online exchanges, diss tracks, and public commentary, including remarks directed toward deceased individuals. In neighborhoods where rival groups closely monitor online activity, posts that may appear insignificant to outsiders can quickly escalate tensions in the real world. The shooting at 79th Street and May Street illustrates how digital interactions and street conflicts have become deeply connected. Online exchanges are no longer separate from events happening on the streets. Instead, they often influence perceptions, fuel rivalries, and contribute to real-world confrontations. In this environment, visibility itself can become a source of danger. Ayres' brother, known as Risky Bands, publicly expressed his grief following the tragedy. As a local rapper with a recognizable presence, his response reflected the overwhelming pain of losing a sibling to violence. His public statements revealed both heartbreak and the difficult reality of living within an environment shaped by long-running conflicts and constant public attention. Observers noted that his reaction demonstrated the deeply personal consequences of street violence. The loss extended far beyond statistics or headlines. It affected an entire family, close friends, and the surrounding community. Every act of violence leaves emotional scars that spread far beyond those directly involved. In the days after the shooting, residents gathered in Auburn Gresham for a memorial vigil honoring Gabrielle Ayres. Community members, faith leaders, and public officials came together at the location of the attack to remember her life and call for justice. The gathering reflected both mourning and a shared determination to seek accountability. Father Michael Pfleger of St. Sabina Church delivered an emotional message during the vigil. He spoke about the lifelong consequences facing Ayres' young daughter and stressed the importance of identifying those responsible. He also announced that St. Sabina Church would match the $10,000 reward already offered by Cook County Crime Stoppers, increasing the total reward to $20,000 for information leading to arrests. Pfleger encouraged anyone with knowledge of the shooting to come forward, noting that surveillance cameras in the area could provide valuable evidence. Mayor Brandon Johnson also addressed the crowd. He acknowledged the community's grief, while emphasizing the need for justice, alongside long-term efforts to reduce violence. State Senator Willie Preston echoed those remarks, condemning those responsible and promising continued efforts to ensure they face prosecution. The vigil became a symbol of both sorrow and determination, as residents united against the continuing cycle of violence affecting their neighborhood. The scale of the attack was staggering. Dozens of shots were fired into the vehicle. Bullets tore through the car before it eventually crashed in the middle of the afternoon. The violence shattered what had been an ordinary day. One woman lost her life. One man was injured. A small child witnessed unimaginable horror while sitting helplessly in the back seat. The aftermath revealed the devastating force of the assault. Vehicles were riddled with bullet holes. Glass covered the street. Numerous shell casings remained scattered across the intersection. Yet the physical destruction represented only part of the tragedy. Families were left mourning. Neighbors struggled with fear and trauma. The community once again confronted the painful reality of recurring violence. While speculation continues regarding motives, affiliations, and possible retaliation, the central truth remains unchanged. Lives were permanently altered. Gabrielle Ayres lost her life. Her daughter lost her mother. Her loved ones were left to cope with overwhelming grief. Whatever context surrounded the incident cannot lessen the pain, trauma, or lasting consequences experienced by those closest to her. The case also demonstrates the growing connection between street culture and modern technology. Social media has become intertwined with neighborhood conflicts where online interactions may influence real-world events. Public visibility can carry serious risks. Comments, exchanges, and digital disputes sometimes extend far beyond phone screens and into acts of violence. The events at 79th Street and May Street highlight the urgent need for prevention, intervention, and stronger community support to stop these conflicts from escalating further. Ultimately, the death of Gabrielle Ayres reflects a much broader pattern of violence affecting parts of Chicago. The tragedy involved neighborhood rivalries, family relationships, public visibility, and ongoing disputes. Yet beyond those factors lies something far more important. A mother was taken from her child. A family suffered an unimaginable loss. A community was once again forced to mourn another life cut short. The effects of violence extend well beyond those directly involved, leaving lasting consequences that ripple through families, neighborhoods, and future generations. The tragedy of it all, Gabrielle Ayres should never have lost her life because of someone else's reputation or associations. She should not have become another victim simply because of the people around her. No relationship or family connection should place someone in mortal danger. Her daughter should never have been forced to experience such terror. At only 14 months old, she sat restrained in her car seat as gunfire shattered the vehicle around her. Although she survived physically, no child should ever witness violence of that magnitude. As she grows older, she will carry the painful reality that her mother was taken from her in a deadly act of violence. This tragedy represents more than another headline. It reflects how deeply violence has eroded values that once, however imperfectly, offered some protection to the most vulnerable. Women, children, and innocent bystanders were once viewed as people who should never become part of these conflicts. Those boundaries have weakened dramatically. When women and children are no longer shielded from violence, it signals a profound breakdown within the community. The incident is not only an isolated act of brutality, it also reflects broader social problems where retaliation, fear, and conflict too often overshadow the value of human life. No woman should ever become the target of violence. No child should ever have to hear gunfire or sit in the path of bullets. Yet on that day in Auburn Gresham, those protections disappeared, leaving behind a tragedy that forever changed the lives of one family and an entire community. First and foremost, this tragedy should never have happened. A young life was lost. A child was left without a mother. A family was left to grieve. A community was left to cope with yet another heartbreaking act of violence. Moments like these remind us that the impact of street violence reaches far beyond those directly involved. It leaves lasting scars on everyone who witnesses it. It is heartbreaking. It is painful. It is completely unnecessary. Every act of violence affects more than its intended target. For every person who survives, there are families, friends, and neighbors who carry the emotional burden. Every gunshot leaves behind more than physical damage. It leaves fear in homes. It silences playgrounds. It creates memories that never truly disappear. For those who were present, the experience will never be forgotten. They heard the gunfire. They felt the vehicle shake as bullets struck. They watched their neighborhood change in a matter of seconds. Those moments become permanent memories. They return without warning. The sounds remain vivid. The fear lingers. Ordinary days are never quite the same again. Prayers go out to her family. Prayers go out to her baby. They now face an unimaginable loss that no words can truly ease. But prayers alone are not enough. There must also be accountability. There must be justice. There must be difficult conversations about how society, institutions, and culture allowed a young mother to become a victim. How did we reach a point where someone could lose her life because of associations, personal conflicts, or grudges that were never truly hers? This is a painful reality. It should never have ended this way. The tragedy is not only the loss of Gabby Ayres. It is also the realization that she was not protected. Her child was not protected. A moral boundary that once separated right from wrong continues to fade. Her death serves as a powerful reminder that unchecked violence carries consequences that cannot be measured. Those consequences spread through families. They affect entire neighborhoods. They shape the lives of future generations. As we remember Gabby Ayres, we must also face the difficult questions. How did society become so accepting of this level of violence? How do we ensure that no child has to witness a world where safety is uncertain and bullets determine someone's future? Most importantly, how do we honor her memory by creating meaningful change so that tragedies like this are not repeated?